All right, I'm getting all crafty again. One thing that I've always really enjoyed doing is coming up with minimalistic ways to fish. Now, I'm often guilty of taking too much junk, but I gotta tell you, it's really liberating whenever you take just a few things. So I'm always looking for ways to scale down, maximize space, things like that. And then also to kind of, tailor suit things to how I like to fish. So I'm going to make a bracelet. Why, you might ask? I don't know. I just kind of like the idea of it. So I'm going to try it. I might hate it. But there's a principle in here of using a very common material. I want to show you that more than anything. So let's get to it. So I'm starting with a paper template. I just wrapped the piece of paper around my wrist and cut it to the length that I want. And then I made a few calculations for the sake of the laser. And then to make it all like legit and manly and stuff, I'm going to make it out of leather. And I got just enough. Now I'm going to have to work to get this all lined up, but I got enough to do it. And now I'm just doing a bunch of not that interesting stuff on the laser to make my pattern. I think I know what I'm doing, but I don't know if I know what I'm doing. So I'm just doing. All right, spent a little time designing, a little time cutting, and this is what I ended up with. So I used the laser for this. Of course, if you wanted to make it yourself, you could use a little rotary cutter like you use for fabric. It cuts leather really, really well. Yeah, so you don't have to have a laser to do this. Now, if you want, images on there, you might have to improvise a little bit. But what I've done is I've just cut this to basically match my little paper template. I will install some snaps on this other side here shortly, and that will just snap on. Now, how do we keep the flies on here? I had thought about this because in a past video, we made the magnetic fly dryer holder catcher extraordinaire. For this one, I thought about what I was going to do, and I honestly thought about just gluing on some magnets, and I think that would work fine. What I decided on was something that I have used for many years to hold flies, and that is Velcro. This is the soft side, not the hard, hook side. This is the loop side, so it's the soft stuff. And I've used this for a lot of years. You can stick it on any number of things to have a little fly dryer. Now, there's some things here. The big thing is you do need to be vigilant about how you put your flies in there. Once they're in there, trust me, they are in there. They're not going anywhere. That's the great thing about this. And then if you put them in right, they'll just pull right out. If you bury them in here, it is a nightmare. Okay, a nightmare to get these out. So there's a little learning curve to using Velcro for this. Don't bury them in there, just catch a couple of those fibers and then you'll get that fly out easily. So the trade-off there is you do have to be a little particular about how you do it. But that being said, this is a super cheap, readily available material, which you can use in all kinds of DIYs to make little fly dryers. What I did for a long time, imagine for a moment that this is a rod. I just put it around the rod, and then I would run a zip tie on both ends to keep it on my rod, and then I had a little fly dryer right there on my rod, or a lure holder if I'm wade fishing. It's something I've used for a long time. You just got to kind of get in the knack of, not burying those hooks in there, because if you do, man, they really don't want to come out. I wanted something that held really well, and from years past, I know that this will hold really, really well. So that's why I've decided to go this route. So I'm going to glue this up and put some snaps on here. All right, snaps are installed. Now that will just clip on like so. Yeah. And now I'm just going to glue up the Velcro, and we're in the home stretch. There we go. Being that it's leather, it should, get nice and fish slimy and patinaed and have all kinds of character after a little bit of usage. And there's probably certainly prettier ways that you could go about this. Now, again, kind of like I said in the last video where I made this, you do not need the laser to do this. You can cut all this by hand very easily. So don't feel locked into the laser. I'm just lazy, so I'm doing it that way. All you would do is just get your own personal measurements for your wrist and just, straight edge, cut it out of a piece of leather, install your snaps. Plenty of videos that show you how to do that. And boom, you're in business. What I thought about doing here was using a different color leather and doing the same thing that I did here with the magnets glued on and then a contrasting piece of leather over top of that, because I think that would look very nice. That being said, with the magnets, these hold fine, for basic, just I'm putting this guy here, I need an extra set of hands, or I'm letting this fly dry off a little bit. This works fine, plenty of hold there for that. But this, being on my wrist through casting and things like that, it's going to see a lot more movement. So I wanted something a little more stout. And again, I've had so much success with the Velcro in the past that I just opted to do that. I'm just giving you an idea here. So run with it however you wish. There we go. My measurements weren't too shabby. It fits nicely. It's not going to move all over the place. And then I can just get that in there. And again, this is one of those things, when you get used to it, you'll get comfortable with it. Even if this fly is moving, it's not going anywhere because it's actually hooked in those little fibers. And if you only hook a couple little fibers, it'll just pluck right off. All right. So just barely scooching it across the top until I hit something. And that fly is not going anywhere. Don't let that movement worry you. Look. It's not going anywhere. It's actually locked into those fibers. Grab that hook eye and you can pluck it right off. I mean, come on. People are going to be lining up for a fashion accessory like this. It's beautiful. Will come out of the Velcro. Just do what I told you. There's days that I would just load a few flies on this, grab some hemostats, some tippet, and some nippers, and just hit the creek and do it super minimalist. I love to do that. Like we did in the Altoids fishing tin. I love to scale down when I can, and there's something liberating about that by limiting your options. Now, granted, I'm not always out there chasing the hatch. I'm more out there to catch fish. So, throw a woolly bugger and some attractor patterns on there and just go out and have fun with it. This is just as much an idea as it is anything. It's not necessarily a, full tutorial. You guys may notice that, a lot of times my stuff is not necessarily a full in-depth tutorial, because I don't want you to think you have to build things exactly the way I do. I just like to give you some ideas, some foundations, and some thinking points to kind of make it your own. Now I'm just going to end up making it like a point to see what all I can pack onto this thing. Again, the Velcro. Don't let the movement worry you. It holds. All right? It holds. Yeah, experiment with this. Make it your own. Thank you all for checking out the video. Tight lines.